what's up? This is Patrick. Welcome to Double ETF, episode 11, Everything Except the Football. I hope you guys are doing great. Today, my guest is Pat Francis, host of the Rock Solid podcast. Pat is my biggest guest so far. I think it went really well. We took a look behind the scenes of podcast creation. We also talked about upcoming projects, talked about life before LA, horrible past jobs. And yeah, it was a fantastic talk and we could have gone on for much longer. So I hope you guys enjoy and please give us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever. Drop me a line on Twitter if you want at EETFpod. And yeah, that's it. Without further ado, here is my conversation with Pat Francis. All right, so with me today, I have the godfather of Rock Solid, Pat Francis. Hi, how are you?
Hello, Patrick. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. Thank you very much for doing this. I know we all have a bit of Zoom fatigue right now.
I still love it, actually. I'm okay. I don't have Zoom fatigue yet.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess you have to adjust to the new reality with Rock Solid. You know, all the interviews now being through Zoom.
Yes, exactly.
Did you find it difficult at first?
I was nervous at first because there's so many balls to keep in the air. You know, you got to make sure your connection's good. You got to make sure that you're still recording and the sound is going to be good. I definitely have to see the person like we're seeing each other now so that I know if my line of questioning is not going well with the other person. You can see it on their face and so you can pivot. But so it took some getting used to. It's definitely not the same as being in the room with the person because when I interview someone in person, before we turn the mics on, there's been like 10 or 15 minutes of hanging out. And then you also hang out a little bit afterwards. So you get a feel for each other. But with Zoom, as soon as they pop on the screen, I know I have 1 hour. So we're really off and running. So okay. I have to get a feel for them and they have to get a feel for me as we're doing it. So that's the tricky part.
And how long would you say it took you to get the feel of it?
And feel comfortable. Like I'm still a little bit nervous because, again, I got to make sure that we're recording and then I'm listening and I'm looking at my notes. So it's a lot of stuff. But I'd say it took about 4 or 5 until I felt better about it. But it's still a little nerve wracking because like if something goes wrong today with this, we know each other and we'll fix it. But I really only have these people for that 1 hour, and if something happens, then I can't really call them up and say, hey, can we do that again? Because, you know, their time is precious.
Have you lost any episodes?
I have not lost any episodes audio-wise, but when I interviewed Mike Reno from Loverboy, I did not record the video. I'm still bummed out about that because he was in his office with all his rock stuff behind him, and he was really engaged. He was really, really good. He had listened to a couple episodes prior to get nice. Ready. And normally I don't expect these musicians and rock stars to do that, but he did. So he knew what was going on. And even though the video is only for Patreon people, or sometimes I'll take a clip and put it on YouTube, I'm kind of bummed that I don't have his video because it was nice. So, but other than that, everything's been good.
Okay. And you probably have backups as well. Like I know that some people have their phone recording their local audio as well, just in case. Well,
Zoom does record. If I record it, Zoom will record the video and a separate audio file. But if I don't I always remember now since the Mike Reno thing. But yeah, I mean, and you know, I'm always worried about, is the internet connection going to be bad? Like, thankfully we have a good internet and I can even hardwire. I have it right here. I can even hardwire right into if I need to. But yeah, that's nerve wracking. But when someone comes to the studio and you're face to face, it seems easier for some reason.
That's true. Yeah. And do you know how many episodes you've done through Zoom so far?
I feel
I'm putting you on the spot here.
Off the top of my head, I'm going to say around 30.
Okay.
You know, and you're talking about the musician guests.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say around 30 because, they just keep coming hard and fast. I've been on a roll. Like sometimes I would have to chase people down for months. And now a lot of people are just saying yes immediately. So fingers crossed that keeps going. But I do want to go back to doing them face to face when we're able to.
Well, yeah, it's the best. It's the best option for sure. Yeah,
it is. Plus, I get to meet them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is fantastic. So
yes, absolutely. So, how many episodes of Rock Solid are there so far total?
I believe there are. I can give you an exact number. Let me open up there are 546 as of this past Thursday.
And I'm sure you never expected to get that far at the beginning, or did you have any?
I guess I had no expectation. Like when I see that number, it's. I mean, when I was at 50 or 100, every 50 is like a milestone, and you just can't. I mean, did I think I would be doing this for 10 years? I didn't think that I wouldn't be, because I still have fun doing it. So, and people are like, "How long will you do it?" And I said, "Well, until it's not fun anymore."
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's still fun. I like talking with, through the pandemic, I've interviewed many more musicians. Normally, the show, we might have a musician on, once every 6 weeks or so, because I have other topics and stuff I like to do. And I love doing those too. I have just as much fun talking with one of my rotating co-hosts or a guest co-host as I do talking with the musicians. So I still have fun with everyone. So that keeps me going. When people say, "Hey, I think I'd like to start a podcast," I tell them, make sure it's something that's going to be fun, because if it's not fun, you're going to get tired of it pretty quickly. So
it's also time consuming, more than people think, I'd say.
It very much is time consuming. People think you just turn the computer on or turn the mics on and you talk, but there's tons of preparation on my end. I have to get the songs ready and get them queued up. And if it's a guest, I have to do my research on all their albums and who produced them and, all kinds of stuff. And then there's post-production and uploading it and tweeting and Facebook to promote it and try to build an audience. I really do feel this is my job. And I put so much time in it. Like I don't half-ass it at all. Yeah.
Most of my time, it's in the editing when I remove all the and stumbling my words. And that happens a lot. Because the final versions is okay, but otherwise.
See, now I only edit the Rockstar episodes because I have to drop the music in post. Because if I play it in real time, that's going to take away from that hour that I have to interview. So I want that whole hour, and then I drop the music in afterwards. So that's when I hear myself saying or stuttering or all that stuff, and I will take it out of those episodes. But other episodes, I don't edit. I just put the theme music on at the beginning and the music at the end and boost the levels. But I never listen to the episodes. So when someone emails me and said, "Oh my God, that thing you guys did was so funny," sometimes I don't even know what they're talking about, because everything for me is right in the moment, comedically, whatever funny stuff happens. So I don't even know. So, but yeah, I know it is annoying to hear yourself, because I've been doing this a long time, and to still do it, it's just a thing. Everyone does it. I mean, I watch broadcasters on TV that do it, and then that makes me feel better, but
true.
That's difficult.
And if we rewind to the very beginnings of Rock Solid, I know that you were co-hosting with Gary Lucy at the beginning.
Yes.
I named him. I apologize.
You can name him. I call him He Who Shall Not Be Named, but I do that for to be funny.
Okay. The original idea to make a podcast focused on rock and classic rock and all that, that was absolutely your idea.
That idea was the guys who host the Never Not Funny podcast had a meeting with me, and the meeting was, "Hey, we're going to start a podcast network." That's what they thought they would do at the time, and they said, "You're going to be the first podcast." And I was like, "What am I going to podcast about? What are you talking about?" And they go, "Well, you love music, so it would be a music podcast." And I was just like, "Oh, okay." And that was it. And then I thought, well, I can't do it by myself. I can't just talk about music, but I need someone to play off of. And I didn't want it to be someone who had my same musical taste, because that's no fun.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Two guys talking about journey, that's fun for one episode. So
if that.
But so Gary Lucy, I knew him. I might have met him once, but maybe not. I knew him from Facebook. He always posted about music, and he had different tastes than I did in music, and he was funny. So I thought, oh, Gary Lucy will be great because we'll each bring different things to the table, different senses of humor, different music tastes. And so that was it. And we never did a test show. We talked on the phone, and I said, do you want to co-host a podcast with me? And I told him, and he goes, yeah. And I go, okay, our first episode, let's do debut albums since it's our first show. That made sense.
Yeah.
And he said, okay. And then I said, okay, pick 5 songs, and I'll pick 5 songs because the episodes were shorter back then. They were like 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then Matt Belknap was the producer, and that was it. When you listen to the first episode, Patrick, that was us walking in the room, turning on the mics, and that's it. We didn't talk about what we were going to do, and that's how we did it for over 100 episodes with Gary.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. I mean, as it went on, we got looser, and you just get better as you do it. But yeah, there was really other than that, music, me and Gary, Matt producing, pick a topic, let's go. And we are off and running. So I should go back and listen to that first episode, but I remember being like, oh, wow, that seemed pretty easy. You know what I mean? So, and Gary was with us for about 120 episodes.
Okay. Right now, what would be the one topic that you would like to revisit?
That I would like to revisit. I know a new topic that I've never done is music that has harmonica solo in it.
Okay.
So, all right. I want to do that. Topic to revisit. We've revisited a lot in the past. Mm-hmm. I like the topic. I think Gary came up with it. It was called double downsizing, where you take a double album and you pare it down to make it a better single album. Okay. That's a fun one I'd like to revisit.
Yeah.
But the topics with music, Patrick, are never ending.
Yeah, that's true.
It can be anything. Like I could say, what's your favorite song with the word green in the title? And then you would look up and be like, oh my God, I have like 60 songs that have green in the title. So that's another thing that's good about my show is the topics are never going to end. There's no end. Yeah. And I know a lot of people do podcasts and they might get stuck with, oh no, what's the next episode going to be? But if you're talking about TV or movies or music, it's pretty wide open.
Then I will tweak the question and say, is there one topic that you remember not being quite satisfied with the result? And that's why you would like to revisit that? I don't want to put you on the spot or anything,
No, you're not. This is it's bringing me back to Gary again. I wanted to do an episode called Speed Bump Songs, it's the one song on the album that you skip. It's a speed bump. You're like, And like for me, on Sgt. Pepper's, I don't like the song Within You, Without You. I just don't like that song. So for me, I skip that song every time. I've tried to like it, but I just don't. So Gary didn't really warm to that topic, but instead of really telling me that he didn't want to do that topic because he felt like it was making fun of music, which I'm not against. There's always bad music out there. Mm, yeah. So when he showed up to do it, he didn't bring speed bump songs. He bring songs about the circus. So we ended up.
I remember that.
So we ended up calling the show Speed Bump Circus. But I was a little bummed that he dismissed the topic without us discussing it a little bit more. So I would like to. Maybe I would revisit speed bump songs.
Yeah, good call. I think so. You've had some big interviews, as we know, Sammy Hagar, Rick Springfield, and Mike Reno. What would you say would be your favorite one of them all? Which one was a pleasant surprise? The most pleasant surprise.
Recently, there's a couple that felt like we were just having a conversation rather than me doing an interview. Mm-hmm. And those were Suzi Quatro, Liz Phair, and Vernon Reid of Living Colour. Okay. Those just had those just felt special to me. Like when we were done and I closed out of the Zoom, I kind of felt just giddy or really satisfied. It just really felt like that we both were having fun. You know what I mean? And and those felt good. And then of the in-person ones, Terry Nunn from Berlin
Yep.
was so nice and just so felt like we had been old friends. And I like Berlin, but I'm not a super Berlin fan. I respect them and I like their music and I like her a lot. And she had a good story. But sometimes you just don't know who you're going to hit it off with. Sean Cassidy was fantastic. Mm-hmm. And Ricky Warwick from Black Star Riders is always so fun. But Susie Quadro, Liz Phair, and Vernon Reid recently via Zoom really felt like we were connecting on a different level.
If we flip it around, what would be your most disappointing interview?
My most disappointing interview? That I would have to look at a list. You know, I recently interviewed Slim Jim Phantom of the Stray Cats. Mm-hmm. And he was on his phone. I couldn't see him, and he was at a restaurant.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, so, that's not ideal.
So that was difficult because of the situation. I didn't understand why you would do this at a restaurant. I could hear him ordering. There was table noise in the background. And then at one point, Patrick, it was about 50 minutes in, his phone just went out.
Oh, now, wow.
Personally, I feel like he was having lunch with his girlfriend or wife, and they were probably like, how long is this going to take? And he might have just shut the phone off. So, I mean, and then, then like 5 weeks later, I interviewed Lee Rocker, the bass player from the Stray Cats, and he was wonderful. It was wildly different. And it wasn't that Slim Jim was bad. It was just the circumstances weren't optimal, you know.
And did he probably knew that ideally he would have to be like in a not in a public space, you know, so that he could give the best interview possible, but he didn't even care, I guess.
I mean, he could have said, "Oh, today's not going to work for me. Can we do it another day?" I mean, it's a pandemic. I'm free every day, so it could have been any day. So that was just a weird one for me. It was kind of strange.
Would you consider rescheduling with him? If, for example, he reached out and say, you caught me on a bad day or something, let's do it again.
Sure, I would, but I wouldn't. But I wouldn't reach out to him again because I feel like we did cover most of it. We just didn't cover it in the most conducive way.
Yeah,
you know, I like when people come on and they're like, "Hey, this is our time together, and I've blocked it out, and here we go." And that's why most people have been fantastic. You know, they take it seriously.
Yeah, that's. I think that's a good way of putting it, because without the public and without people like you who spread the message or spread, promote them. Yeah,
promote it. Yeah, it's in the pandemic. If you're releasing new music, there's not a lot of outlets, and I mean, I'm lucky because I have such a vast list of people that have been on my show that when I email a manager or PR person, and they see that list of names and they say, "Oh, this is legit." So, but that takes time to build that legitimacy up.
That's true. Yeah, I'm lucky. I mean, I have you on my 11th episode, so I'm shooting up the charts.
I'm so happy to do this. I asked you if I could do it.
You did, yeah. Honestly, I wanted to reach out to you at some point, but I wanted to wait until I had more episodes under my belt.
Well, I hope I didn't rush it for you then.
Oh no! That's okay. That's quite okay.
Yeah.
I just thought of a question. What was the biggest surprise you got during an interview? The most surprising answer?
The first big guest we had was Melissa Etheridge. Mm-hmm. And by the way, she's a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. That's her team. So we're recording on Super Bowl Sunday. So
yes.
Go Chiefs. Melissa was the first big guest we had. And because of her, I was able to get other guests. Because I would just say, "Oh, our most recent guest was Melissa Etheridge." I wouldn't say she was our only guest. I'd just say she was our most recent. I mean, there's little ways that you can phrase things that, in order to get what you want. But she has a song on an album called Tuesday Morning, and it's about 9/11. So when I interviewed her, I played that song, and I told her that for me, that song was as good a song as anything that Bruce Springsteen had written for his album, The Rising, which is basically all about 9/11. Okay. And she put her hand on my hand and she started to tear up. And so I didn't expect that to happen, but that was, And she said, she goes, you know how much that compliment means to me. And yeah, that's a moment that I always remember.
Yeah, that's a good answer. No, I mean, yeah, that's awesome.
It's hard to forget. It's hard to forget the good moments.
Yeah, especially moments like that one.
I do have one more, if you can indulge me.
Sure, please.
When Sean Cassidy was on my podcast, it was only the second podcast he had ever done, and it was the first podcast that he talked about his music as a kid in his teens and 20s. He had never done that before. And we did a whole, deep dive of every album. And a couple months later, he agreed to be on my wife's podcast because she does a screenwriting podcast, and he's a writer. He's a television writer. So between that time, he had started to book shows and do some live shows. So when I met him again during my wife's podcast, I had an album that I wanted him to sign that I didn't have the first time. And as he was signing it, he told me, he said, you're the reason that I started to do live shows again.
Ooh.
Which I was like,
whoa,
blown away by that. And then he signed my album and he gave it to me. And I looked at it and he wrote, Pat, thanks for starting. Did he say, thanks for starting the fire? No, thanks for lighting the flame, I think is what it is. I would have to go look. But that was pretty unreal to me.
Yeah.
A guy who hasn't performed live for, I don't know, 30 years. And because Jesus. He was so into getting reacquainted with the music he created that it made him want to go out and perform that music live. That was a special thing.
And do you know, or did he tell you why he stopped in the first place?
He just wanted to be a writer. And so
okay, so that was the reason why. Okay.
He wanted to be a writer. And so he worked. It wasn't that he stopped because he wasn't having fun doing the music. He wanted to be a writer more. He said he always wanted to be a writer. And the music was just something that came because of his circumstances as being an actor and stuff. But he always wanted to be a writer. So now he can go out after having success as a writer. Now he can go out and I guess enjoy the music part even more because it's now fun. It's not something that he has to rely upon as his job.
Wow.
So anyway,
if we can switch gears a little bit, or maybe rewind again.
Sure.
So now, obviously, you live in LA now. You've been there for
26 years.
26 years.
It'll be 26 years on February 16th.
Oh wow! So that's in
about a week. Yeah.
Yeah. And what made you move there in the first place?
I had moved to Chicago after college to do stand-up comedy. That's what I really wanted to do. And I lived in Chicago for 6 years, and it was during the comedy boom. So after about a year and a half of doing the open mic circuit, if you were passable, and I'm not saying you were good, but if you were, if you presented yourself in a professional way and you were funny and all that stuff, you could start to get work as an opener. So after a year and a half, I didn't have to work a day job anymore, and I was off and running, going on the road. That was now I had achieved that goal of wanting to be a working stand-up comedian. And I did that for the next 4.5 years. And then you started to be at the same clubs a lot. Like I remember like the third or fourth time I was at the same club, like in Grand Rapids, Michigan. In my head, I just kept thinking, how many times am I going to come to this club? I had moved up to the middle slot, the feature position, but I was just like, I don't want to be the guy who, this is my 20th time at this club. I want something different. Maybe I want to work in TV. Maybe do I want to act? I don't know. Well, I don't know, but I know that I think I'm done with Chicago.
Okay.
And I know that TV is in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So, and the sun is there. I mean, after growing up in Pennsylvania and Chicago, I'm kind of done with the winter.
Yes.
So I just moved here, and a bunch of friends, we kind of came out here in waves that same year.
Okay.
So we kind of had a built-in support system with each other. It wasn't like I packed up by myself and moved here. So that was cool because none of us had money. We were working day jobs and trying to figure out what was going on. And so, and that was it. I just, and then I got lucky with jobs and things. Little things would happen here and there that kept you thinking, oh, I can live here. I can do this. I can support myself. So that's what happened. I know that some people don't have that luck. I feel lucky. But but yeah, I did. I was able to do it.
That support system, like you mentioned, your friends some friends already being in LA, that must have helped a ton. Because as you said, like some guy who just, gets off the bus all alone in the world.
He ends up going home maybe because it's tough.
Yeah, that's true.
The first job I had in television as a story producer, that's behind the scenes. Story producer, it's for reality TV. They go out, they shoot all the footage, they bring it back, they give it to me, and then I find where the story is going to be, and I piece it together, and then I sit with the editor, and that's where we really work it out. So that's what a story producer does. I get a call from my friend Carla, who's now a wildly successful sitcom writer. She's been doing it for 12 years. She's so good, Carla Felicia. She calls me and she says, hey, my friend Joe needs to hire a story producer. So I told him that you're going to come over and he's probably just going to hire you. And I said, I've never done that job before. What are you talking about? I don't know what to do. And she said, Joe knows that. I told him how great you are, and he's just going to talk you through it. And he said, you'll be fine. So no one gets lucky like that, Patrick. So I go over and Joe says, yeah, you do this, this, and this. You can do it. It's a piece of cake. And so I just did it. And I got to learn on the job while I was making money. So thank you to Joe and Carla. So that's a weird, a lot of people would tell you LA is a cold place. It's hard. But there's a lot of nice people here. And if you're nice and they'll help you.
I didn't know there was such a job, like story producer. I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't know it was either.
My God.
I know.
Wow. And then I remember that you mentioned at some point you were a tour guide at MGM Studios or something?
At Universal Studios. Yeah,
yes.
When I first moved out here, I did telemarketing. Then I got hired at Universal Studios, which was as a tour guide, that was like a 2-week audition and testing process. And you could go through the whole 2 weeks and fail the test at the end and not get hired. But luckily I did. I also did kids parties on the weekends where you dress up as characters and go out and do kids parties. And I did, celebrity parties. I did Paul Reiser and Kate Jackson from Charlie's Angels and Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue. I mean, it was
oh boy,
the thing. I know. And so, and I made a lot of money on Saturdays and Sundays doing the kids parties. There was a lot of work. And but yeah, so you just, and I did audience warm up on some shows, and I would just basically do anything that I felt was still a foot in the entertainment business. Being a tour guide, I felt, well, here I'm at Universal Studios and, the kids' parties. I'm like, oh, this is an extension of acting. You know what I mean? So I was just trying to always do something to where I didn't feel like I was working at a grocery store or something. Nothing wrong with that. But I wanted to at least keep my eye on.
Keep your foot in the door.
Yeah. Like I did a lot of PA work for a company and I met, so many great people and got to meet so many cool celebrities just doing all kinds of stuff. So I just always kept doing that kind of stuff. I still didn't know what was at the end of the tunnel. I didn't know what the next thing was going to be, but I just kept doing, again, stuff I felt was in the industry.
All right. If we can switch back to music again, we know that Cheap Trick is your favorite band.
Yes.
What would be your top 3?
It's so funny because, like I say, Cheap Trick is my favorite band, but they could easily, because you have to have one. You have to have one that you say is your favorite band. Like, what is your favorite band?
Mine would be Rush. Yeah.
Rush. See, now I don't listen to Cheap Trick every day. I might go months without listening to Cheap Trick, but I do have. It's just like the first band that when I was a kid, that I felt was my band. Like I found them, and so they mean something special to me. But top 3 is so difficult because I love the Who so much, and I love the Kinks so much. I love those British Invasion bands. I love the Stones so much. I mean, it's tough to pick a top 3. Yeah. It is. It could change at any.
Yeah, it changed from day to day almost. Yeah.
And I'll just get on a kick where I'll just be listening to, I might get on a Bruce Springsteen kick, or it might even be Bon Jovi from time to time. But I mean, it always is different. But if I had to just say, I would say, let's just say Cheap Trick, The Who, and the Kinks. Okay. Those bands really bring me a lot of joy.
All right. And what would you say more recent bands, like bands that started in the 2010s, for example? Do you have a top three? Because it's not easy to stay up to date with those things, you know?
Right. It's not easy to stay up to date. I do love the band Haim.
Mm-hmm.
I do love... it's funny when you say like so recent. Like I still think of the Foo Fighters as being a recent band. But that's not a recent band. Yeah, that's difficult.
Okay.
I don't know that I can give you much, but I do like Harry Styles is great. You know, and I still have we still have a kid at home. She's 16, so I hear music that she likes, and I get into some of that. I do like Tegan and Sarah. Again, these are all bands, a lot of bands that I found from the kids, but yeah. So that's how I try to keep my foot in current music. It's through the kids.
Yeah, kids can help with that for sure. Can you play music instruments?
No. I mean, if push comes to shove, I would say that I would be okay on the drums. But as far as, no, I don't. And you know, for my 40th birthday, my wife bought me an acoustic guitar and I still have it. And I like to pick it up and just goof around with it. And a friend of mine, Rob, gave me a ukulele. But no, I can't play a musical instrument. I wish I could. I really wish I would have learned guitar at an early age. But it also seems so difficult to me. Like it's not a natural thing. Like I think when it just comes to you, that's when you have it inside you. To What about you?
Yeah,
Did you play
sure.
an instrument?
No, I took 3 years of piano and I sucked.
Yeah.
So I don't have that talent, you know.
Yeah.
That's all right.
That's why I have so much respect. When I see a band on stage together, 4, 5, 6 guys, all playing in harmony, and what's coming at me is just, I'm loving so much. It really makes you respect it all the more. And a band like Rush, 3 guys, Rush, and they got all this magic.
They make it look easy.
That's
another thing.
Because they have natural ability. I'm not saying that they didn't get better as the years went on. They did. But I really feel sometimes that you're born with it.
Yeah, I think so.
I like to think I'm a funny person, but I'm born with that. I was always funny. I always knew when and where to insert or what was going to work. But to me, music is a whole different level. Like I don't call being funny a talent. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
But other people would go, no, it's definitely, but being in a band and playing music, that's talent. Like you can't deny it. Like if someone gets up and can sing, you might not like their music, but if they can sing and they have that voice, like there might be people that don't like Adele, but you can't watch Adele and hear Adele and say she's not good.
Yes.
But with comedy and with being funny, people might not like your sense of humor. So they can say, no one's going to say that guy's really funny, but I don't like his sense of humor. They're probably just going to go, that guy sucks. You know what I'm saying? I feel like talent in music or talent in sports is undeniable.
Okay.
And when it comes to comedy, you can deny someone's talent. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like for me, my talent is when it comes to comedy, like to go out and do stand-up again, I have no desire to. It doesn't thrill me to write a joke and keep working it and having people judge that every night until it's right. Some people love that. Jerry Seinfeld, he's a technician. He loves that. I like to be funny right in the moment. You know what I mean? I like to, something comes off the top of my head. Something tells me, yes, say it.
Okay.
And especially if I'm with my friends who are the most difficult audience because they're all comedians, if you can make them laugh, you really feel like you're still able to do it. So,
yeah, no, I know what you mean because the few times that I made people laugh on In That Tune, it gives you kind of a rush, you know? Like, oh, yeah, awesome.
Yeah, it is.
We can switch to a few, my typical series of questions if you want.
Sure.
Number 1 would be, what is your favorite music movie?
Oh, That Thing You Do. I love that movie. It's got heart to it. It's funny, and it has an original song. The song is That Thing You Do. If that song doesn't work, then the movie doesn't work because you have to hear that song. They play that song probably 10 or 12 times throughout the movie. And every time it comes on, you love it. You're excited by it. I love that movie.
You're going to hate me. I've never seen it.
Check it out. It's really fun. It's a really fun one. Yeah.
What would be your least favorite one? Like the one that you remember hating? Or maybe that you didn't even finish.
I do remember when I was a kid, we would go to midnight movies, and there was a Pink Floyd one where I think they were like live at Pompeii. Is that a thing?
That rings a bell.
And it was so, I wasn't into Pink Floyd at the time, and it was so devastatingly boring that I just I did not enjoy it. And the same thing, I went in high school to see the Led Zeppelin concert film, and that just didn't do it for me. Now I love it, but then it was rough. It was rough.
All right. Is there a band that turned you into a fan after you saw them live?
Yes, UFO. It was the second concert I ever saw. They opened for Cheap Trick, and I think I only knew the songs Lights Out and Too Hot to Handle. And I had only heard those maybe once or twice on FM radio coming out of Pittsburgh, because I grew up in a very small town. So I wasn't exposed to like a lot of bands that other people were. So yeah, they're the opening band, and they come out, and from the first song, I was like, who are these guys? And I've been a fan from that day forward. It was just, It was incredible. It was like a religious moment. I was like, wow, this is crazy. I can't believe how good this band is. Who is this? And then I went and bought every album they had, and then I've bought every album day of release since then.
Nice. What was the scariest concert crowd you've ever been caught in?
Because at this age, I don't get into the, get down there in the mosh pit. I do remember when I saw Van Halen in 1981 at the Pittsburgh Civic Arena, there were no seats on the floor of the whole arena. It was called Festival Floor, where you bought a ticket for the floor and you got wherever you could get. And I do remember when everyone was kind of spread apart, but when the band came on, there was kind of a rush, a push. Okay. And I remember not enjoying that, and I just stepped back and let people go, because it just didn't feel. I'm not a risk taker with my person. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it just didn't feel safe. I never want to be in a situation where it feels like you're not going to be able to get out of that situation. So that was a little
understandable.
Yeah, that was a little rough.
What is your favorite book related to music? Could be a biography or something like High Fidelity or whatever.
I'm looking at all my books on the shelf. I'm just going to go with a recent one. I really do like. I liked Rod Stewart's autobiography.
Okay.
Because he didn't. He put it all out there. He didn't make excuses for bad behavior, and when things went wrong with relationships and things, he totally owned it. But yet he also, there's a joy in that book. Like I read that back to back with Pete Townshend's book, and Pete Townshend's it's very like the guy never has fun ever. And Rod Stewart got into this to make music, but to have fun. And it was a really great read. It was really, I burned through that one. So yeah, I'd say Rod Stewart's autobiography.
All right. Next question could be, what is your most, I mean, you have a million, but what is your most memorable or favorite brush with fame? You are in the right city for those?
Yes, that's true. This means like a one-on-one interaction?
Yep.
Okay. Because a lot of times when someone sees an autograph I have, they'll say, what was it like to meet Tom Petty? And I'll say, well, I didn't meet Tom Petty. He signed it and moved on. Like there was not any interaction. But I went to see Art Garfunkel perform solo, and I was waiting for him because I had some albums to get autographed. And there was only a handful of people waiting, and eventually there was just like, 4 people. And I saw Art come out of the side door of the venue, and I just I stepped over the chain or the whatever it was, and I walked towards him, and he saw me coming, and he said to me, he goes, "You waited all this time?" And I said, yes. And he said, "Get over here." That's exactly what he said. So I talked with Art Garfunkel for about 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
It was just him and I, and he signed my albums. And we talked so much that I actually had to break the conversation.
Jesus.
But it was fantastic. So,
nice.
So I met Art Garfunkel, and he was great.
Yeah, and a nice guy, friendly.
So friendly, so nice.
Huh. What year was that?
That was probably... Time goes so fast. I'm going to say probably about 6 years ago.
Oh, okay. Relatively recent.
Yeah.
Okay. the one I added recently, what piece of music memorabilia would you like in your house?
Oh, like something I don't own, but if I could own it?
Yes.
Well, because he recently passed and because anyone who walked in would know exactly what it was, probably an Eddie Van Halen guitar.
Oh, yeah, that's a great answer.
with the red and white and black stripes painted by Eddie. I mean, people would just walk in and go, is that real? You know what I mean? That would be amazing.
Well, hell, I mean, I think Mike Schmidt would break into your home and steal it.
Mike Schmidt would, yeah. I would let him hold it every time he was here.
Nice. Yeah, excellent answer. Do you remember the very first concert you went to?
Yeah, the first concert I went to was Kiss.
Oh, okay.
1979. It was in Pittsburgh. And again, I lived like 2.5 hours outside of Pittsburgh. So to get to a concert, they would have these like tour buses where you would go into the shopping mall. They would sell tickets to the concert, and you would also get the bus ride. It was like and it wasn't a school bus. It was like a nice bus. Mm-hmm. And it would drive you to the show. You would get out, you'd go to the concert, and then afterwards you would find your bus, and then they would bring you back to my hometown. So, and I can't believe my parents let me do it. I was 15. It was me and my friend. And yeah, that was my first concert. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's a good choice for a first concert.
Yeah, when you're 15 and all those shenanigans, Kiss and makeup and everything, come on. Yeah. It's perfect.
And is there one concert that you would say that's my favorite one?
Yeah, and this is such a weird like answer, but it's on every level. It hit on every level, and I took my oldest Ezra to see Taylor Swift. Huh. Now I went because Ezra wanted to see Taylor Swift. Mm-hmm. I was not expecting it to be so amazing. Vocally, stage production, lighting, every single thing was a 10 out of 10. Like wow. I've gone to see, I think the tickets were like, I don't know, $150 each. Every penny was on that stage. Like I go see bands if it costs that much, and they just might be in jeans and a t-shirt with a backdrop and just playing the music. And it's like, okay, you know what I mean? But like even, Rush, they put on a show. Yeah. They have mini movies and lighting and everything. But yeah, this Taylor Swift just hit it out of the park with this show.
I think Andy had the same answer, actually.
Andy Solom did?
Yeah, I think so.
It's pretty amazing.
Okay.
Yeah. I know.
Right.
Not a rock and roll answer, but yeah, it was great.
All right. No, that's perfect. There is no wrong answer here. So no, I know. Don't worry. All right. So that was the first set of questions. Okay. But I'd like to circle back to a couple of other topics that I meant to ask you earlier. You're not a really big sports guy, are you?
I'm not a big like team sports guy. Like I'm not a guy who. Here's the deal. Every summer I go to a Dodger game because I like the atmosphere. I like going with my friends. I like having a hot dog and a beer and watching the game. And I do like baseball. As a kid, I played baseball.
Okay. Which position?
I was catcher for a little bit, but not great at that. And then I was in the outfield. Okay. But I do like baseball. I do like baseball. And I'll watch football if it's an event game or it's a playoff. I'll turn it on. Mm-hmm. But as far as knowing players' names and statistics, there's probably some pro football teams, NFL teams that I didn't even know existed. Like I know all the old teams, but you could say, oh, there's the whatever. You could name a newer team, and I'd say you're making that up. As far as me personally, at my age, playing a sport, tennis is my sport. Okay. I like to watch Wimbledon. I like to watch the U.S. Open, and I love to play tennis because for me, I always feel like I'm not so much competing against the person on the other side of the net as I'm competing with myself. I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to feel better. I'm trying to get in shape. Mm-hmm. And I'm not one of these people. One of my great friends, Suzanne Kiley, that's who I play tennis with. And she's a woman, mm-hmm. and we are equally matched. And it's fun because sometimes I win and sometimes she wins. But at the end of the day, we've both got a great workout and we've had a great time. Yeah. And I'm also not competitive in the way, Patrick, where like when I'm playing with Suzanne, I don't have to win. That's a bonus if I do. But if I'm running around and having fun and feeling like I'm playing the best I can play, then I feel like I have won.
Yeah, you've accomplished what you wanted in the first place.
Exactly.
And you mentioned the Dodgers. They won the World Series last season.
Yes.
Were you able to go to a game at some point?
I was not able to go to a game, but and because of the pandemic, I probably wouldn't have. My wife's dad, his second wife, her name is Janet Marie Smith, and she works for the Dodgers organization. She's she's an architect. She redesigned Dodger Stadium. She redesigned Fenway Park and Camden Yards. And she is one of only 9 women who is in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Jesus. Okay.
So Pilar still has a relationship with her. And every year she offers us her seats, her personal seats. And Pilar and my kids don't care about it. So I'm able to call up 3 of my friends and we sit in the best seats in the house. And it's really cool. And look up Janet Marie Smith because she's unbelievable. You
probably got some kind of luxury box or something.
It's you're like 4 or 5 rows up from playing field, okay. And people come down and wait on you down there like servers, and it's pretty great. Like once you go to a game like that, Patrick, you don't really want to sit. It's like anything. Once you've flown first class, or once you've had a good concert ticket, it's hard to go back to the cheap seats.
Yeah, go back with the cattle.
Yeah, but the cheap seats are what I can afford. I'm just lucky. I'm just lucky to have contacts in my life, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I don't know if sports events were they allowed to have fans in the stands in California?
I remember anytime I tuned in, for a while they had those cardboard cutouts. Mm-hmm. And then I think they were social distancing people, like so many people could be in this section, so many could be in this section. Because if you think about a stadium, you could really space people out if you only sold these certain seats. But I'm not sure I think towards the end they were allowing it. I was shocked at the Super Bowl. It seemed like there were a lot of people there.
Yeah, but they probably pumped artificial noise as well.
Yes,
to make it sound, So I don't know. I didn't double check the actual number of people in the stands, but no, it still makes me feel weird when I see any crowd anywhere now, masks or not. Yeah,
I mean, I'm in no rush for me personally to go to these things. I'm willing to. We've waited a year. I'm willing to wait 6 more months or 7 more months. I mean, it's not like it's never going to happen again. I hope it's not like a science fiction film where this is our new normal forever. I don't believe that that's how it's going to be. So I'm willing to wait. Some people I know they can't wait to go to a restaurant. They can't wait to, and I'm like, I've been doing that for over 50 years. I can take a break from it for a second, people, to stay healthy. Come on.
But you would, and again, I don't want to answer for you, but the one thing that you miss the most would probably be concerts, right?
This will be a shocking answer for you. I'm not really missing concerts. I've been to so many shows. I think I've almost seen everyone I've ever wanted to see. Okay. And so I'm not missing it. Do I want to do it again? Of course. But I'm not like, oh, I need to go. I'm not like that. I'm actually handling all this kind of okay. My day-to-day life has not changed that much other than ordering groceries in or not going places. I'm just, so yeah, I know you would think that I'd be missing concerts, but currently I'm okay. I'm just happy that everyone in the family is staying safe.
Yeah. And also it also helps if the job and the money situation is under control as well, because
yes,
I can only imagine how stressful that can be if you really don't want to go back out there, but if you don't, you lose your job and then you're screwed for real.
So I mean, it's all those things. So, you have to line up the things. What's most important? And going to concerts, going to a movie and going to a restaurant, is very far down my list of important things.
Completely understandable.
Yes, yeah.
But okay, so I can switch gears to something else, but I can tell you what I miss the most is traveling. So I'm going to ask you, what you've traveled a fair bit, I think.
I have. Yes.
So please tell me which places you enjoy the most.
I'll tell you where I've been. Now, the first place I ever out of the country, and I almost don't consider it out of the country because it's connected. But the first two places I went to Mexico for our honeymoon, which is Mexico's not that far from Los Angeles.
Oh,
and then I was in Canada. I was in Banff and Vancouver. But again, I feel like those two places are just an extension of the United States because on the map, that's what they look like. But I enjoyed both of those places. Then because of my wife, her job, she's a screenwriting teacher. She gets invited to go to other countries to teach. I've been able to go to London 7 times.
Wow.
Dublin twice. One of our trips to London, then we piggybacked over to Paris. And then we went to Rome as just a vacation for the two of us. So I really love London. I think because I love music so much, there's such a music, you know what I mean? The British invasion is such a big thing for me. And to just go and see, Abbey Road Studios and Conch Studios where the Kinks recorded. And I saw Ray and Dave Davies' house where they wrote You Really Got Me in the living room. Like you can,
wow.
Their house still stands. So I really enjoyed London. Like I just like, when we travel, we don't really go see, like I've been to London 7 times. I've never seen Buckingham Palace because what I like to do is just wake up and walk around the city and see the actual city life of what's going on and just feel like you're a part of it. And it's different from where I live, but yet so unique. So
you've been there 7 times. Have you lived or stayed in different parts of the city or mostly the same sector?
My wife always teaches at a certain college, so we've been in and around the same sector, but I've ventured out.
Okay.
Nice.
But
I haven't ventured out like to Manchester or somewhere else like that. The next time I'm definitely going to.
Yeah, I was going to mention Liverpool. That's got to be on your list.
But because of my tennis, because I love tennis, I did go to Wimbledon. Mm-hmm. Not the event, but I went to the actual physical, whatever you want to call it, not an arena, but where the
grounds, I guess.
The grounds. And we went in and were able to walk around and see it, and it was pretty cool. So
nice. I don't even know where that's located with regards to London. Is it just outside the city or?
I think it's outside the city a little bit. I think, I had to take a tube and all that good stuff. But
okay.
But yeah, I couldn't actually tell you either. When I was there, I found my way there and back, but I couldn't actually tell you.
What about Paris? How long did you stay there?
We were just there for, I think 3 days we were there because we were still in the middle of our London trip. And then we took the Channel and it was cool. It was neat. And this will kind of connect. While we were in Paris, my friend who I just mentioned, Suzanne Kiley, who I play tennis with, her and her boyfriend were in Paris at the same time. So we got to connect with them and have dinner together one night.
Oh, nice.
And I don't know what it is about, like we could hang out with them anytime here in Los Angeles, but I don't know what it is about running into friends in another country that is so exciting. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, look, we're all here. Like one of my London trips, my friend and co-host from Rock Solid, Mike Siegel, was there, and we spent a whole day together, and it was just, there's something different about it.
Yeah, it's probably the combination of familiarity and something new. You know, so you can share something new with someone you know well, right. And it makes for a nice mix for sure.
Yeah, and because Mike is also an avid traveler like yourself, he knew places in London that I didn't know, so he would take me there. I swear we walked 20 miles the day we spent together because we didn't get in. I don't think we got in any public transportation. He met at my hotel, and then we just walked.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
That's what I prefer to do because many people will recommend rent a bike or a scooter or something. Mm-hmm. You will go faster, sure, but you don't have time to really observe the architecture or just look at people doing their daily life things. And that's, I don't know, like it's a better way of soaking everything in, I think.
Right. I agree with you. I like when my brother, he's 6 years older than me. When him and his wife travel, they get on these, they sign up for all these tour bus tours, and so they're seeing like the main things, but I don't feel like they're really experiencing it the way you do when you just walk around. But that's what works for him. They like to be, they're not very adventurous. So they like to have their hand held and feel like they're safe with this other group of people, even though I've never felt unsafe in any of the countries I've traveled to. So.
And what do you remember impressed you the most in Paris?
Now you're putting me on the spot.
Sorry.
I'm going to tell you this. It was like being in a movie. One of the first things I saw in Paris was a person riding towards me on a bike with a baguette in a basket in the front of the bike. Yes. And I was like, I go, that is like something you would see in a movie and say, that's not true. But yeah, it was just,
it is.
I did like the little cafes, like in the afternoon to have, coffee or tea and just observing people. I just like to people watch. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then you'll stumble onto something that is totally American. Like I rounded the corner and there was a comic book store.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it was a gigantic comic book store, like with action figures and all this, things that I know from America. Now I know that comic books and movies and everything are worldwide, but I wasn't expecting to see that. And then I spent way too much time in there. And my wife is like, we're in Paris. You can see this stuff back home. I'm like, you're right. Let's go.
And what about Rome?
Rome. It was so hot. First of all, it was. Okay. I forget what month we were there, but it was so hot. But we went to the Colosseum. Mm-hmm. That was a touristy thing we did. That was amazing. I don't know how people drive in Rome. I think that was the one city where I was like, I would never
maniacs.
I would never get behind the wheel in Rome. It was just. Oh, and the food. We would make a reservation at a restaurant for 10 at night. And it would be full with families, like babies and grandparents. And they were, and then the owner of the restaurant would come to your table and talk to you and thank you for coming to their restaurant and how long, it was so fantastic. Yeah.
Spain was the same. Like you would go out for dinner at 9:30 p.m. and you would see families walking around. That's pretty crazy. And was there something specifically like a monument or something else, a museum of some sort in Rome that really caught your attention besides the Colosseum?
It's just the architecture. Whenever there's different architecture that you don't see in your country or in your area, it definitely catches your eye. And yeah, I wish I had specifics for you, but I don't.
That's okay.
I kind of live in the moment, Patrick. Like when I'm there, I'm enjoying it. And then sometimes I really live in the moment. I don't worry about the past and I don't think that far ahead. I know that might not work for other people, but that's how I do it.
Okay. So even when you're traveling, you're not a big planner. Basically.
Not really. No, we will get there and then we'll decide what are we going to do? Or we'll ask the local people, hey, what should we see? What do you recommend? Like what restaurant is good? And, so I want the people who live there to be able to say, oh, you got to do this or you should definitely do that.
I've never been to Rome, but it's on my list for sure.
Yeah.
Do you have a city somewhere that's top of your list to go next?
It sounds so stupid because I've been there so many times. But I had a trip planned to go back to London with my youngest nephew, who also is a tennis fan, and we were going to go to Wimbledon, and we were going to stay the whole week of either the first or the second week of Wimbledon, and we didn't think we would be able to get into like any of the main matches, but just to hang out in a local pub in Wimbledon and watch it on TV and get that whole atmosphere. So. That we had to cancel because of the pandemic, and it won't happen this summer. So I'm looking to 2022 to go to Wimbledon. So if you were asking me something that I miss that we couldn't do that trip, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
And what about a city that you haven't been to yet? Is there one on top of your list?
That's a good question. Pilar has been like to China and Vietnam. She's been to all these places. I feel like the places I've been have been very, what do I want to say? Very, very American friendly. Like I don't feel like I'm so far out of my comfort zone in the cities I've been to. Like, so, I haven't been to, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but like my friend Mike Siegel has been to these places that when he tells me about it, I'm like, oh, now that's some traveling, like places where you need to get inoculations and shots to go there. I don't feel like I've been to a place like that. Just the things in this country that people don't see. Like I've been lucky enough. I've seen the Grand Canyon. Mm-hmm. I've seen Mount Rushmore. I've been to Hawaii. I've been, but there are things in America that like my parents don't travel at all. And they've never seen so many things in this country. From doing stand-up, I was in 42 states.
Wow.
And since then, probably a few more. I haven't been in all 50, but yeah. So, I mean,
Is that on your bucket list to visit all 50?
No, it's probably not. It's not on my bucket list.
That's okay. That's okay.
But I would like to go to Maine, though. I would like to go to Maine. Okay. But yeah, it's not on my bucket list. But yeah, that's a good question, though. Well, I should add this, Patrick, since we're talking about traveling. 2.5 years ago, my friend and I filmed a documentary.
Yes.
Where we traveled from Santa Monica to Boston Harbor, coast to coast, and we did it by rideshare only, by Lyft. Mm-hmm. And so, and we had like 32 drivers. It took us 8 days, and I think we were through 13 states. And we're currently editing it together. We have so much footage, but looking at that footage now and seeing us in a car together with a stranger and no mask and not worried about it is kind of interesting to watch that footage now. But we have 40 or 50 hours of footage, so it's a lot to go through. But we have good stuff, so I'm happy about that.
I was going to ask you about that. Where is it in the process right now? It's still being edited? It's
still being edited. I mean, this August will be 3 years since we shot it. I was hoping it would be done much quicker than this, but it is what it is. And as long as the end product is something that people want to see and think is pretty cool, that's all I care about. And so far, when I'm watching it, I'm enjoying it, and I'm my own biggest critic. So
okay.
I think it'll bring some warm fuzzies. I think, and it's something that everyone can watch. You can watch it with your family. It's just kind of fun and interesting.
That could be as well a feature film as a TV series.
Well, we are currently editing it together as like a 5-part series.
Okay.
Because my partner, Aaron Gould, who I did it with, he feels like we should go that way. And what I told him was, I would rather have a movie that's an A+ than 5 pieces that are all a B-. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I know that I know we have enough great footage to make one thing be amazing. But I'm allowing him to do it as 5 episodes. And, but it really has to be great for me to sign off on the 5 episodes. So far, I've seen the first 2 and I thought they've been good, but I haven't thought they've been great.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
More like A- than A+.
Right. And I'm, and I'll even see stuff that's in there of me, and I'm just like, that's boring. We don't need that. So I'm not afraid to cut myself out of things. I want everything to just be great. So,
yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. So at this point, I don't know when people see it, I don't know if it'll be a 4 or 5 part series or if it'll be a 2 hour and 15 minute movie.
Okay. And I don't know how that process works. And so once you get your final result, then you start negotiating with streaming platforms or whatever.
Yeah, that's the only thing about the pandemic that's bummed me out a little bit. I kind of feel that if this thing had been locked and ready to go. I believe because people were so starved for entertainment that Netflix or Amazon or Hulu might have picked it up, and they might have done it without a lot of, deliberation. They just might have said, "Oh yeah, this is something we can put up there. I think this will be a nice break for people."
Yeah.
But I told you I don't live in the past, so I'm looking forward.
Yeah, it's true. But no, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to watching it for sure. So
cool. Me too.
I can understand. Would you say how far along are you in the editing process?
As far as I'd say we're about halfway there.
Okay.
But Aaron's really working hard right now. It's only not finished because we've been late. It's our fault. It's no one's fault but us. I mean, there's only two of us did it. We shot it all. We financed it all. And then we did a GoFundMe to try to recoup all the money we put in, and we were able to recoup all that money. So right now we're at, we haven't lost any money, and we have great stuff. So it's our fault that it's not done. So there's no one to blame.
But at least, I guess you're not hiring editors from outside, so at least the budget stays the same.
Yeah, now we probably will have to hire people to do an audio pass to make sure that all the levels are, so it's not like this person's loud and this person's, and then there'll be a color correction, so it won't be too jarring when you go from scene to scene. So we will have to hire outside people to do that. And I have no idea how much that'll cost or anything. But yeah, there are some things that other people might have to do.
You'll cross that bridge when you get there, I guess.
Right. But even Aaron does music, so he's scoring everything too.
Oh, wow.
And the music sounds amazing. Like a couple people that have seen it, they're like, "Who did the music?" I said, my editor and the guy who's in the movie with me did that. And they're like, "Wow, that's great." So
nice.
Aaron's kind of like a one-man band in that respect. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, fingers crossed that everything keeps going well.
Yes, thank you.
You're quite welcome. Oh, another thing I forgot to ask. You mentioned after college you went to Chicago, I think?
Yes.
Which college did you go to?
I went to a Catholic college, St. Vincent College in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. I guess it's most well known as the Pittsburgh Steelers have their training camp there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
On the campus, which meant nothing to me because I'm not a sports guy. Like, I don't care. My brother went to college there, and I didn't really want to go to college, but I knew I guess I had to. I don't know. So I didn't really apply to many colleges. I just said, I'll just go there. And I got in. Okay. And college to me was more of a learning to live on your own, like life experience type thing than scholastically, because I already knew what I wanted to do. I just wasn't old enough or maybe mature enough to move to Chicago or move to LA or move to New York. I wouldn't have been able to do it. I would have been crawling back home. So I had to have those years of not living at home under my belt, Yeah.
And over there, was it like not a boarding school, but like, did you have
I lived on campus, dormitory. Oh, okay. I lived in the dorm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my first year there, it was an all boys school its entire existence. But my freshman year was the last year it was all boys, and then sophomore year it finally went co-ed.
Okay.
So, and I knew that going in, so because I wouldn't have wanted to be in an all boys school for 4 years. But
different dynamic for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because look, there's a ton of asshole douchebags when it's all boys. There's a ton of asshole douchebags when it's not all guys.
Yes.
But man, you guys can really ramp it up when there's no one to impress. You know what I mean? There's no girls to impress or want to date. So
it can turn into like a Lord of the Flies almost.
Oh my God, people just acted like crazy people 24/7. But it is what it is.
Nice. Okay, if you want, we can switch gears and go to the triple Qs, the quick and quirky questions.
All right.
I tweaked the list a little bit since the last episode, so you will get a couple new questions. Okay, so first, would you rather speak all languages or play all musical instruments?
I think play all musical instruments.
All right.
I mean, I know to make your way in the world, languages would be good, but I think music is the language of the world.
Yeah.
Anyone, if you walk in anywhere in any part of the world and there's someone sitting at a piano and playing beautifully, it doesn't matter what language you speak. You are going to definitely, all eyes and ears are going to be on that person.
There will be a connection there for sure.
Yes.
That's true. So when it comes to universal languages, I guess music is one, love is one, math is one, cash is one.
Yes.
So, but I think I've noticed over the episodes I've done is most quote unquote hardcore travelers will pick languages and the rest will pick musical instruments. I've noticed that, but there is no wrong answer, so that's absolutely okay. Okay, so question 2. If you could get a ticket to any show or event, music or sports, past, present, or future, what would you want a ticket to?
Wow. I always say that I would love to have seen Queen with Freddie Mercury.
Nice.
And that's what it would be. Because out of all the artists I love, I've seen Queen with Adam Lambert, but it's not the same. I've been able to see the Stones and the Who and everyone I've really wanted to see, but Freddie, and that would have been pretty neat.
Wow. No, I agree with that. Question 3, talking about switching gears, what is your favorite insect?
My favorite insect? Who is a butterfly an insect? Is a ladybug an insect? Anything that looks pleasing to the eye.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I live in a household where everyone is afraid of bugs, but me. Like I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not a bug. Like for me, I don't like mice and rats and bats. That's the thing that I'm.
Okay.
But bugs. I'm not afraid of any bugs. But if we're talking beauty, I guess a butterfly or a ladybug.
Yeah. Yeah, that works. That works for sure. Question 4, what scene from a movie scarred you for life?
Oh, okay. When I was 12, my cousin and his dad were going to see The Omen.
Mm-hmm.
And that was rated R. And my cousin was the same age as me. And I asked my mom if I could go. And she said no. My parents said, no, you can't go to that movie. And I wore them down. And they said, fine, you can go. I said, I'm going to be with my uncle and Alan gets to go and he's my age. Why can't I go? So they let me go. And that was a mistake, Patrick, because I bet the whole movie scarred me because growing up Catholic, anything about the devil, you're like, this is real. This can happen. So, and at 12 years old, you're super impressionable. And so there's a scene in The Omen where Gregory Peck is fighting with the nanny, who's, one of the devil's minions. And they have this cutlery and these knives and they roll down the stairs. And at the bottom of the stairs, it's revealed that she's been stabbed through like the face or neck. And it's horrific. And so I slept with the light on for months after that movie.
Jesus.
It horrified me. Now, as an adult now, I just watched it twice last year. I love that movie so much. I think it really holds up. But as a kid, I should not have gone to see that movie. No way.
Yeah, I agree with that. Who directed the first one? Was it Richard Donner, I think?
Richard Donner, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I haven't seen it in so long. I should revisit that movie.
I really think it holds up. And I really believe it's because Gregory Peck is in it, because he holds so much weight as an actor. And no one plays it. Everyone, there's no tongue in cheek or wink and a nod. It's all like, this is really happening. This is really happening. Yeah. All
right. I'll keep that in mind. Question 5. What is the best nickname you've ever heard?
For myself?
Could be for anyone, no restrictions.
Oh my God. Best nickname. Boy, I don't know. That's a tough question. I have no idea. I'm trying to think of rock stars who have nicknames, and I'm just not.
It could be someone from high school or something. Could be anyone.
My roommate freshman year in college would give everyone nicknames for no reason. So he used to call me Snoods.
Huh? Do you know why?
There's no reason. He would just make up a nickname for you.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I'll just go with that because he still calls me that. And so it's like a term of endearment. Like if I call him on the phone, he'll go, Snoods. And everyone will go, what does Snoods mean? I'm like, it doesn't mean anything. He just made it up.
Nice.
But everyone will always say there's got to be a story behind it. And I'm like, there is not a story behind it.
And that's the story. The fact that there's no story behind it.
That's the story. Yeah.
Exactly. Nice. All right. So question 6, what would you name your boat if you had one?
I had a boat. Usually a female name, isn't it?
That's the tradition. But, it's your answer. Could name it whatever you want.
I feel like I would have to name it the Pilar because that's my wife's name and it's such a beautiful name. And that would look good on a boat.
All right. That works. That works for sure. Okay, so question 7. Again, talk about switching gears. Where is the worst smelling place you've ever been?
Okay, I don't want to disparage a whole entire city, but I've been to New Orleans, and
okay,
it's not my thing.
During Mardi Gras,
I wasn't there during Mardi Gras. I was just there on an off time, and I did not care for it at all. And nope.
Jesus. Okay. And what's the street? Bourbon Street?
Bourbon Street. Yeah. No, thank you.
Okay.
Not my deal.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. I've heard some pretty horrific stuff about what happens in Mardi Gras over there. So
no, thanks.
Wouldn't be my thing either. Would you say that it's your least favorite city?
It's the least favorite city that I've ever been to. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And I know that cities can change and grow, but I mean, I was there, within the past 20 years. So I don't know.
It was after Katrina?
No, it was before Katrina. Also, I drove around then Louisiana, it was when I was still doing stand-up. And it's really, there's a lot of poverty there and it's very sad. Yes. It was a depressing place in my opinion. And it's, and then you think about wait, this is in my country. This is my country. How are people living like this? I don't understand it. It's, it's easy to pretend it doesn't exist, when you see it. And then it's a helpless feeling too, because you're like, well, what can I do?
Yeah.
I've talked about this on other podcasts. I have this problem all the time when I see the homeless population in Los Angeles. I mean, I can give someone $5 or $10. I can buy them food. Doesn't solve the problem. It maybe makes me feel better about myself for 2 seconds, but then it's not really, or it's helping them in the moment. But it's very difficult to be fortunate and then see others that aren't. It's tough.
Yeah. Okay. So New Orleans was the answer.
Yeah. Sorry, New Orleans.
Next question. Question 8. When did you screw everything up, but no one ever found out it was you?
Oh my God. When did I screw everything? You came up with this question?
I wish I could say I did, but no, I found it elsewhere.
Screw everything up. That's a big deal. I can't think of one. I'm sure at one of my production jobs, I'm sure I did. I made mistakes that no one ever found out about, or so. Yeah, it wouldn't be anything catastrophic. Man, I'm going to think about that one now all day long and think about something.
We can go back to it.
I doubt I'm going to have an answer before we're done. But if one pops into my head, then I will throw it out there.
Okay, excellent. Feel free to record it and send it to me if you want. Okay. I'll add it to the pod.
Okay.
All right. So I have another series of quick questions, if that's okay.
I'm fine. I'm here.
Overtime. Yeah, let's call it overtime. So question 1. You are going back in time and wind up face to face with 15-year-old you. You have 10 seconds before you travel back to the present day. What do you tell your younger self?
This is tough because what I would tell him is the same thing, kind of how I try to live my life anyway, is do what you want to do. Listen to yourself. And I've kind of always done that. I mean, there are things in life that you have to do, but I always try not to get into a situation of doing something that I really do not want to do. You know what I mean? Okay. So, I mean, it's kind of an easy answer, follow your heart. But, I mean, you have to stay true to yourself. Like, I mean, I'm not living a life that my parents would ever want me to live. My mom still thinks I should go back and get my teaching certificate and be a teacher. She's like, you're so good with kids. I'm like, doesn't mean that I want to be a teacher. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. She wanted you to be a teacher?
Yeah, she wanted me to be a teacher.
Huh. Okay. Interesting.
Well, I mean, after I wasn't going to be a lawyer or a dentist, then she wanted me to be a teacher. My mom,
okay.
Patrick, here, the real thing is my mom always wanted me to just have a job where I had benefits, health benefits, and 2 weeks paid vacation and,
retirement plan.
And these are the things. So many of my friends from high school and college have those things, and they've been miserable their entire lives. Yeah. And I've had this conversation many times with many of my high school friends, because if you're my friend, you're my friend. We're friends. I don't give up my grade school friends for my high school friends, for my college friends, for my California friends. If we have a connection, we're always friends. And I stay connected with everyone. When I go back home to my hometown, I make it a point that we're all going to get together. Anyone who still lives there, we're getting together and we're going to have dinner and drinks and catch up. But many of my friends, and this is like even 20 years ago, that he'd be like, I'm not happy with my job. I'm like, you can look for other jobs while you're working your current job.
True.
And then 10 years later, the same story. And then today, the same story. And it's like, don't do that. And I'll tell my kids that. And my wife will tell our kids that too, because it's, you only have one life, and you shouldn't be miserable. And you shouldn't be like, because then as the years would go on, they would tell me, well, my daughter's getting ready to go into college, and we just bought a new house. So it's like all these things that are like financial burdens to where you feel like you can't escape whatever job you hate. I can't imagine doing jobs that you hate every day. And I hope you don't have a job like that, Patrick.
No, I don't. And of course, the money isn't, exceptional, but it's good enough to pay the bills, and it's good enough to travel.
Yes.
And to me, I'm good. That means perfect. And I don't have a boss, which was critical for me.
Your self-happiness is important. Now, I'm not saying have 5 or 6 kids and then neglect them by saying, I'm not taking that job, even though your family needs the money. No, you can't do that. But I think, you know what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some decisions can lead you into difficult choices.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of stuck. And that sometimes, I guess, it's not entirely, sometimes you can just get unlucky.
Right. And I do have to qualify. That said, sure. If any hardship came to our family, I would absolutely do anything and take any job, to make ends meet. I'm not saying I'm too proud to do certain jobs. Mm-hmm. I'm saying you should try to find something that you love and that you want to do.
Yeah. If you're miserable, you should do what you need to be less miserable.
Yes. And look, I know it's easier said than done. It certainly is easier said than done.
For sure.
But when I moved to Chicago and I didn't know anyone, I worked in a couple of jobs I didn't like, but I knew that I was working these jobs so that I could stay in Chicago, so that I could go out at night and hit the comedy clubs and try to work on my act. So there was an end game to my 8-hour misery, 9 to 5. I knew that, tonight is going to be my reward.
What kind of miserable jobs did you do in Chicago?
I worked at a place. I forget what it was called, but when you go to when you're in a city after hours and they close the gates in front of like a jewelry store or something, they just close these gates and lock it. I worked at a company that manufactured those gates.
Oh, okay.
So people would order them, and then you would take the specs over the phone. And Patrick, I worked there for about 6 months, and I never knew what I was doing. I never knew. I would just, every day, I'd just be like, I hope I don't get let go today, because I have no idea. I really had no idea. I was literally just taking up space. And it was in the part of the city where it was like an industrial area where there were no restaurants or anything for lunch. So I had to take my lunch, but there was no relief. There was not even an hour to get away. I mean, I could go sit in my car, but it was miserable. It was so miserable. And then another job I had in Chicago, I worked for a financial institution where I had to call people up who had defaulted on their loans.
Ooh,
and
okay.
I had to try to get them to come in and make a payment, any payment, $20, whatever it was. And that was miserable. You just get a stack of cards with phone numbers every day, and you'd call and the people would go, "Oh, he doesn't live here." And I'd be like, in my head, I'm like, I'm talking to the person right now. It's just like, you just couldn't, but the other guys that worked there were cool, and we hung out at lunch and we had a good time, and it was fun. It was fun in the office, but the job was miserable.
Yeah, that kind of job is soul crushing because every person you talk to is to give them bad news in a way. To remind them that they are behind on their payment.
Yes.
And they probably tell you you probably get told to fuck off 20 times a day,
Or just flat out lied to. They'd say like,
yes,
I can come in Friday and pay $100. Okay, I got you on. So then you would write it down. You'd take that card and put it in a different stack. And then the office manager would be like, "Oh, great. You got 20 people to commit to coming in the next 2 weeks." And then they'd never come in. Or one would come in and then go, "Oh, that was pretty good. 1 out of 20 came in." And I'm like, this is just like a never ending job of bullshit. Nothing's getting done. So it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Soul crushing.
Yes.
Wow. All right. So back to the questions, if that's okay.
Yes.
Okay, so question 2. If you could live in anyone's head for 15 minutes, a la being John Malkovich, only as a spectator, past or present, who would you choose?
Can I pick like the point in time when I live in their head, or is it just...
you choose. Who and when? I
would love to live in the head of Mick Jagger during a performance. I want to feel what a 77-year-old Mick Jagger feels like physically when he's running from one end to a stadium to another, engaging all these people and still doing what he's always done and still doing it well, in my opinion.
Have you seen them live recently?
I've only seen them one time. It was in 2010, I believe.
So that's still relatively recent.
Yeah. When the Stones come to town, the tickets are so expensive. It's really expensive to go see the Stones. When the Who comes, it's like $150. When the Stones comes, it feels like it's $300, and a good seat's like $1,000. I mean, it's crazy. Jesus. So I do want to see the Stones again, before they stop doing it.
What's the venue when they perform in LA?
Well, sometimes they come to a stadium, which isn't my favorite thing. But that's where I saw them. I saw them at Dodger Stadium. I'd like to see them inside, like at the Staples Center. Mm-hmm. But then that's when the tickets are really expensive. So it's difficult.
Well,
there's worse problems to have.
Yes.
I've seen them once. I'm good. But I would like to see them again.
Fingers crossed they come back soon.
And see, the thing is now I haven't seen them for 10 years. And since I do see a lot of shows for free, I can kind of qualify possibly paying a lot of money next time. Because I can say, well, I haven't paid for a concert all year. And if I saw 10 shows at this much money, that would equal this. So can I just dump that on a Stones ticket? Maybe I can.
That'd probably be worth it.
We'll see. Yeah. I would love it.
I know. Knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
Okay, so question number 3. You're on death row. Tomorrow it's over, but you get to choose the way you will be executed. No matter the logistics involved, you can go big or small or, whatever you want. You can turn your last day into an action movie if you want. It's up to you. How do you want to go?
Is there a painless option? Is anything painless?
Oh, absolutely.
I just then just the most painless way. I don't want, even if that's a guillotine, then do it. But I don't want to, but no, even a guillotine, if you could just hear the thing for that split second, hear it coming.
Yeah.
Oh no, I just want something.
Probably.
No.
Okay. So question number 4, your superpower is that you can give phobias to people. You can give them fears. So what would you make people afraid of?
They should fear stupidity.
That works.
Because if you're fearing stupidity, then maybe you wouldn't buy into anyone who's trying to, I don't know how I want to say it, Fear stupidity. I can't explain why, but in my head, I know what I mean.
Yeah, and maybe that fear would make you want to improve, learn new stuff and critical thinking and stuff like that.
Yes.
Oh yeah, yes. Good answer. Good answer. Question 5: what is the best compliment someone ever gave you? That's a new question, by the way.
Whenever obviously when people say you have really good kids, that's a great compliment, because I do think that we've worked hard to make our 2 kids positive citizens of the planet. They have sympathy and empathy, and they're not spoiled brats, even though they do have a lot of stuff. But they don't whine and pitch a fit if they can't have something. You know what I mean? Obviously that's a very nice compliment. And I enjoy that, because I do feel that we have nice kids. And then in regard to, with my podcast, whenever I'm finished interviewing, a musician who I've never met before, except for this one time, when we're done, and this happens a lot, thankfully, if they say, "Hey, that was really fun. I really had a good time," then I know that I did something right, because I never want someone to be on my podcast and walk away thinking, that was a waste. That was a waste of my time. That would be a kick in the gut if I felt that. So,
but that never happened. As far as you know,
as far as I know, they haven't told me that to my face. But no, it's really cool when they say, "Hey, I really enjoyed this. This was fun." I'm like, okay, good. So, but the kids is more important than that.
Yeah, I don't have kids, but I can completely understand.
Yeah,
nice. Okay, so question 6: what is your hometown best known for?
Oh, that's easy. I was born and raised in Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And up until just a few years ago, the toy, the Slinky, you know what a Slinky is?
Yeah.
Manufactured in Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania, because the person who invented it lives in Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania.
I didn't know that.
And what happened was, when the first Toy Story movie came out, mm-hmm. and the character of Slinky Dog was in it, people wanted a Slinky Dog so bad that they couldn't keep up with manufacturing of it. So I think they had to farm it out to somewhere else to meet the demand.
Yeah.
But for years you picked up any Slinky toy and it would say Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Yeah. So
they still make them there, but not just there anymore.
I think they still make them there, but not just there.
Okay. No, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool trivia.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Okay, question 7. What is the best insult you've ever heard? That's another new question.
The best insult I've ever heard. Oh my God. That's tough, Patrick, because every Sunday night I get together with my comedy friends on Zoom. There's 9 of us. Mm-hmm. And we're all on Zoom, and then we play poker. There's a poker app called Poker Stars.
Okay.
And so the best insult changes on a weekly basis, because we bust each other's balls so hard. We play for 5 hours. We start at 8 at night and we play till 1 in the morning. We play 2 tournaments, and it's a nonstop barrage of insults. And we're all laughing. No one takes offense. It's just good natured. We're all thankfully able to look at ourselves and see our flaws and make fun of ourselves. So when someone calls you on it, it's just fun. So I don't have a specific, but yeah, that's it. I couldn't even pick one.
All right. Question 8. If you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, and language is not an issue, who would it be and why? That's a new question. It's kind of a cliche question, but I'm still curious to see what the answer would be.
It's difficult because you can't, you just can't say 3. You can say 3 frivolous people, but I mean, if you're given that opportunity, I feel like you would want to, talk with people who have done something of note.
I will. Or maybe not. maybe you remember like your grandfather who went to the war and had kick-ass stories, and maybe you would have.
That's
you
true.
would like to have dinner with him.
Let's go with Neil Armstrong, because how many people have done what he's done?
True.
He could really tell you what it was like.
Yes.
More than you would know in a movie or anything, maybe even more than in a book. Trying to think of someone that's overcome such adversity that you can't even believe that they've come out on the other side. I don't know who that would be, but
I got one, I think.
Let me hear it.
Jackie Robinson?
Yeah, Jackie Robinson would be good. And so there, I'm going to take that one.
Okay.
or I mean, maybe Rosa Parks.
That was my second choice.
Because let's let's obviously get a woman in there, and then so I got Neil Armstrong, I got Rosa Parks, and then I'm just going to throw Bruce Springsteen in there.
I was going to say the next one might be a musician. I'm
going to throw Bruce in there. I would enjoy chatting with Bruce Springsteen.
All right. Yeah, that would be a nice would be a nice combo for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
But I mean,
excellent.
that could change on a daily basis. I know when I'm done today, I'm going to think of a different three people, but.
Oh, that's all right. Okay, so question 9. What is the biggest surprise you've had over the last few months? Another new question.
The biggest surprise over the last few months, it's like it's a frivolous thing, but I've been so surprised how many musical guests I've been able to score during the pandemic. Like, few people have said no. You know what I mean? Everyone has been so willing to do it. And just before we signed on today, Patrick, I got the confirmation that Brian Johnson from AC/DC I'm going to interview him next week.
Nice.
So, I mean, it's just, and the other surprising thing would be how well I feel I'm personally handling this pandemic. I've just been, I don't suffer from depression. Mm-hmm. I don't, like I said, I live in the moment. I live by the day. So as long as I wake up every day and feel like I've done something either for the household or something to help my wife's business or something to help the kids, or, as long as I've done at least one thing at the end of the day, I can say, and it can be cleaning the kitchen. It can be small or big. That gets me through the day. I feel like I've accomplished something. If it's getting 10,000 steps in, or it's, I did push-ups today, whatever it is, it's, so I'm handling this surprisingly well. So when people are like, this is driving me crazy, I say, it'll get better, but I'm not feeling like that. I want it to be normal, but I'm not feeling the walls closing in yet. So,
well, hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah.
Question 10. I don't know if it really applies to you, to be honest, but another new question. What keeps you up at night?
Well, earthquakes. If I start to think about earthquakes in the middle of the night, sometimes I can't get to sleep. And here's the thing. Here's the deal. Mm-hmm. When I lived in California, before I had kids, I wasn't worried about an earthquake because I only had to take care of myself. But now I always think, what if there's a big earthquake? I have to get to, Rita's here right now. She's in the house. I have to get to Rita. I have to get to the cat. I have to make sure Pilar's okay. I have to, you know what I mean? So this is something that I can't really prepare for. You know what I mean? I can have shoes by my bed. I can have earthquake kit, but I don't. And I
go bag.
Yes, but we've had little shakers, and it always happens at night. Like if it happened during the day, there's something about during the day you're more aware of things you can see. But like at night, if a big earthquake comes and the power goes out and you just can't navigate your world, it's difficult. That's a crazy thing that keeps me up at night if I start to think about it. Yeah.
So then the last question of overtime. What is your sliding doors moment? Like the pivotal moment in your life? What would it be?
When you say sliding door, what do you mean? Something opened up?
It's like a fork in the road. So you go left and your life is completely different. You go right, your life is completely different.
I don't know if this is a gigantic fork in the road or not, but it was it did put me back on my stand-up comedy path. When I moved to Chicago and I would go out to the clubs and, and try to get stage time to get better and learn your craft. And then there was a point for like 2 months when I was living in Chicago. I was working at the Gap and I was working at a record store. And the money I made from those two jobs was just enough to pay the rent and eat. And because I had to work both jobs at the same time, I was working one during the day and one at night. And there'd be stretches for 3 or 4 weeks where I would be working every day, either one or both of those jobs, and so I had stopped going to the clubs at night because I was physically exhausted or because the job wouldn't permit me to get there in time to sign up to go on that night. Mm-hmm. And so it was a Sunday afternoon. I'm working at the Gap, and the owner of this one club that I love called the Funny Firm, it was a big A-list club in Chicago. The owner of the Funny Firm, Len Austrovich, I know his name, and his brother Pete.
Is it still around that place?
Club's not there anymore. But at the time it was huge. Okay. So Len Austrovich and Pete Austrovich, they come walking into the Gap. And that day at the Gap, I was the greeter. When you walked in the door, I was the person saying, "Welcome to the Gap." So I can see them coming through the door and not embarrassed, but slightly embarrassed, you know what I mean? Because you're going to see someone who has been seeing you as being a stand-up comedian, even though they know that everyone's working a job. So he comes through the door and I say, "Welcome to the Gap." And he says, "Pat, where have you been? We haven't seen you at the club lately." And I said, "Well, I haven't been able to get over there because of my jobs and I have to pay the rent." And he said, "Are you free tonight?" And I said, "Yes." He goes, "Come over tonight and I'll put you up." Now, usually you wouldn't get a spot on a show on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because those were like the main shows of the week. You'd usually get your stage time, Monday through Thursday. So for him to offer that up on a Sunday night, and he's just going to throw me on the regular show, I'm going to be a guest set is what they called it. That was great. And then I started definitely not neglecting going to the clubs after that night, because it was just like, he's telling me, "Hey, you're good. You're worthy of being on stage at my club and on a Sunday night.
Don't let it go to waste.
Please come over." So absolutely. So that was, I still say that's a minor one, but I remember it. So it had an effect.
You say it's a minor one. I don't know. I would say it's a major one.
Okay. All right. I guess it is. If I remember it, then it is. I was able to go to it immediately. So.
And then after that,
I got my momentum back. I didn't, because then I said, well, am I out here to sell jeans and records, or am I out here to try to do this? Mm-hmm. So then it just put things in perspective.
Good answer. Good answer for sure. All right. So that's the end of Overtime. That's my list of questions done. So that's the end of my list of questions. Pat, I have to thank you again for taking the time to talk to me today.
My pleasure.
Where can we find you online?
You can go on Twitter. You can find me at Pat_Francis. My personal Twitter is a little bit of a safer space now because I'm no longer raging at Donald Trump. So it's a little bit nicer over there. But if you really want it to be nice, follow the show at Rock Solid Show on Twitter, where that's just fun talk about music and what we're listening to and stuff like that. You can also go to rocksolidpodcast.com for everything about the show, episodes, T-shirts, anything like that. So those would be the places.
Awesome. So we will probably see each other soon on the next Name That Tune quiz.
We absolutely will.
Thank you again. And thank you guys for listening. And we will see you on the next one. Bye.
Thank you, Patrick. Take care.